Andrea, hello. Let me just start by
Hello.
giving some love to
Yeah, I think you love
everyone.
that.
Heart
That's
Health
right.
Month. It's kitschy, but we love it, right? Like February, you think of Valentine's Day, and I just found out that the Monday after is Singles Day. So like no matter if it's self-love or love for your partner or love for your family or love for our community, whether we're talking on Facebook or we're here on a webinar, wherever you're watching this, just some love. And I really am excited because Andrea is just as fired up about the giant of cardiovascular disease. She spent a decade as a cardiology focused nurse practitioner in a really busy clinic environment in Iowa. And just as a mom and a human that cares about people, like we need to just combat this here. So, welcome, Andrea, to our little Facebook show.
Thank you for having me. This is
Oh,
great.
I appreciate that. So, according to the American Heart Association, okay, that little company that sticks hearts and logos all over, packaged goods in your grocery stores, but they bring some really great data. I love that. They always have the latest. Cardiovascular disease claims more lives each year than all forms of cancer and chronic lower respiratory disease combined. Whoa, it's the leading global cause of death, and more is spent on like on our cardiac health than any other major disease group. Why aren't we more outraged about this, Andrea? Like what's going on?
Right. We should be outraged, right? I mean, it's been the leading cause of death for a long time, and it doesn't spare any race or ethnicity. I mean, it affects everyone, and everyone has a story somehow connected to somebody that has heart disease. So, um, you know, um, we see different TV commercials and things like that that just pull us away from true health, unfortunately. And we do live in a society where we're exposed to lots of things that maybe aren't as healthy as what they should be. Yeah, and so it's sad that it still is the leading cause of death, and we haven't been able to tackle that.
Yeah.
Um, some of that's from the rise of obesity and the rise of type 2 diabetes and things like that. But yeah, a lot of times it's linked to lifestyle and just general health choices. Yeah.
It is interesting. In the statistics I was pulling up just to try to get the latest, they
Mhm.
had all the stats about cardiovascular disease. They had stats. Then below that, they had information about obesity. They had information about diabetes, but there was like no paragraph in between. Like they weren't bold enough to say, this
Mhm.
is the link. And I was
Mhm.
sharing with you before we hit live that I feel like I have such a traditional American story. Like I grew up at my memories of sleeping over my grandparents' house on my dad's side was waking up to the smell of bacon and eggs. It was, not just the bacon and eggs and homemade pancakes, but my grandfather, when he went out to get the newspaper, would also go get like the best specialty donuts. Like this happened every single weekend in their house. It was like sugar and fat and more sugar and fat, and you
Mhm.
wanted any soda pop you wanted, that you had it at their house. And my popsy, that's what I called him, was always really comfy. I used to tell him, like, so he had a big giant belly, and it was the best, like just giving him those hugs and cuddling with him on the couch. Like I have those memories, and they seem like such positive memories. But then years later, when he was an amputee due to poor lifestyle, had diabetes, and eventually it was a cardiac event that was, the last major hospitalization that really like led to his death. And so what lifestyle advice like can we give patients? What do you tell people?
Well, just listening to your grandfather's story, it's classic. The abdominal, obesity and the diabetes and all that goes hand in hand with that. So the biggest risks are family history. Sometimes that plays a role, particularly, men that have heart attacks and things under the age of 55 and females under the age of 45, that plays a big risk. But also lifestyle, smoking, poor diet, we call it the SAD diet, the standard American diet, which is typically, like you said, high sugar and high starch, type 2 diabetes, insulin resistance, obesity, having hip to waist ratios that's not adequate, high cholesterol, and high blood pressure. Those are all really common risk factors among people that have cardiovascular disease.
So hard to take the habits out of it. It's so you and I
Mhm.
were talking too. Really try to make it so like my kids don't have those food rewards. Like I don't want to say
Mhm.
if you're good, I'll take you out for an ice cream, or if you're good, I'll buy you, some candy at the store. It's really hard to take those things together.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Moderation. Right.
I know. And to
Right.
take those like years and years, I mean, that's what I saw with my grandfather. That's what I see with family members. You take those, years of memories, years of that's like it's an easy go-to at the end of the day. Like, it can be family risks that are run in the family. But,
Mhm.
Dr. Mason, who's the clinical director of nutraMetrix, will say it's really that no one runs in your family. Like,
Mhm.
family walks are not in the family.
Right.
Family hikes are not in the family. Family recipes are in the family. I mean, how many people have like I know families, they have like heart attack potatoes. That's what they
Yeah.
call them. Like that's a
Mhm.
family recipe, or like
Mhm.
everything but the kitchen sink brownies. Like
Mhm.
these
Mm.
traditions that are just passed on,
Yeah.
combined with poor genetics,
Yeah.
is just a storm waiting to
Yes.
come down on us, right?
You're
Yeah.
exactly right. Exactly right.
Is there a better
Um,
diet? Is there some kind of lifestyle advice that you do have? I mean, we all know like we shouldn't smoke, we should eat healthy, we should move more, but like
yeah.
specifically, what can we do?
Yeah. So the American Heart Association recommends uh, a plant-based Mediterranean style diet. So lots of veggies, healthy nuts and seeds and oils like olive oil, avocado oil, those kind of things. And then, if you are going to choose to eat grains, choosing the whole grains versus the white, more processed, higher glycemic carbs. So not choosing those, but choosing the lower glycemic whole grain type products. So, yeah, and if you can, do half of your plate with veggies, non-starchy veggies, a little bit of protein source, hopefully a lean type of protein source, and then less of the starchy foods. So, and unfortunately, I live in Iowa, and I'm touting the Midwest here, but we tend to have meat and potatoes. It's big 12-ounce steak with a heaping pile of potatoes. So, like you said, it's breaking that tradition or that family. You have to have that huge pile of starch or whatever it is on your plate. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
It sounds very
definitely.
in line with, what our sister brand Transitions Lifestyle System, TLS,
Right.
what they teach. I think that's a really great place for people to start for education, to understand like a label or what's a whole grain, or I always like
Yes.
talking grains with people. Do you, Andrea, have a favorite grain? I have a favorite grain. I don't know if I'm a weirdo,
Oh,
or if other
um,
people do.
I don't know if well, maybe so. I like quinoa. I kind of
Yes,
classify that as a healthy grain.
I do
Provides a lot
like.
of protein and kind of gives you that feeling in place of like a starch that you feel like you need. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I do like a good quinoa. Something about my kids don't love quinoa, which like saddens my soul, I feel like. I think it's a texture thing, but
Hmm.
farro is my favorite grain. I think
Oh,
it's got a
okay.
really nice nutty flavor, and I will
Hmm.
send you. I have this delicious farro salad recipe. I will send
Sounds
you when we
great.
get off of this.
That's
Yes.
that
Maybe
sounds
I'll
great.
even post it below here so everyone knows my little farro salad recipe with some oranges. It's quite delightful.
Ah,
So,
nice.
little side dish. So, I told you I will go rogue in these discussions. That's just my MO. So, but I mean, tell me though, is lifestyle enough? Like, is that enough to combat years and years? I mean, I feel like this is like confessional time. I mean, I did all the things. I grew up on the standard American diet. My dad is a practitioner, an obstetrician gynecologist. I was born when he was in medical school. I went through residency with him. I then was like through the stress of him like opening up his brand new practice. And when, the mac and cheese went on sale for $1 a box, like my parents bought cases of it. Like that was a standard staple in our house. Like processed food was just saved my mom's sanity, I feel like. So that's my confession time. Like I put years and years and years of that into my body. Will the lifestyle be enough, or is there more that I might need to do?
Well, I definitely think you're not alone with that whole scenario of easy access, cheap processed food. I mean, it's everybody's go-to. And so I think lifestyle can be enough if you put forth the effort and do it. So you can't erase the years that you had with processed food and maybe lack of exercise, but I think you can start today, tomorrow, and make that lifestyle change to really start to eat healthy. If it's one thing, if you choose one thing, I'm not going to eat processed food, or I'm not, I'm going to cut out sugars or starches. If it's one thing, then hopefully that'll lead to the next thing, which is, exercise and just getting adequate sleep, stress reduction, all those things. And it may be overwhelming at first, but I think lifestyle plays a huge role in your end outcome. And so, if you need to add one thing at a time, that's how it has to go. But yeah, no, I think it's very important and often overlooked in, some common healthcare places or advice. Sometimes lifestyle is overlooked at how efficacious it can be.
I told you, I mean, in the reports, I felt like that was missing from this is where like, it feels like it is just this mammoth villain in the world. And I feel so small in my battle cry. But at the same time, if we can help one person, because they're not making those big leaps, like people aren't bold enough to say, you can make a difference, just take one little step today and focus on the one thing. I mean, I still have like little babies that crawl into bed with me in the middle of the night. So like, okay, my sleep can't be perfect, but can my grocery list be, and can my movement be better today than it was yesterday? Sure. Of course it can. So
yes, exactly.
Now, I know that you, on occasion, will reach for brands like nutraMetrix and Isotonics and Heart Health System. And so, as a provider, how like, why do you reach for those? What stands out for you, and what faith do you have in those kind of lines?
Well, I think anytime you can reduce inflammation in your body through dietary changes, exercise, deep breathing, yoga, all those things that we spoke about, but also adding supplements just to boost your immune system, keep your inflammatory processes low. So I think, adding a high quality, omega-3 to your to your daily regimen, things like that. Just overall general anti-inflammatory is kind of what I recommend.
Perfect. So, yeah, that kind of support is so great when combined with like a healthy lifestyle and what you're saying. And I like the stuff too that you can take in the morning. I find that it's just that reminder to my commitment every single day. Like it's already, I've invested in myself. I mean, it can be something so small, but I mean, we all make choices, and I can choose to invest in a sugar, high calorie frappuccino macchiato whippy thing like from the drive-through, or I can invest in something else that's going to have, a different kind of outcome in my bodily functions than all that sugar.
Exactly. And there's that saying, it's you either pay for wellness now, or you end up paying for illness at a different, later, whether that's in, 6 months or 10 years. But same for the sweet treat, weigh what you want to pay for.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I know. And we want to have our cake and eat it too, but
exactly.
it's so good. But I think that it's great too, because my follow-up, like, kind of ending question is like, how do we stay accountable? Like, I feel so grateful to know providers like you that have a message where you're like, listen, like, hear me loudly when I say this, like,
Mhm.
and you have such a great bold stance on this. But how can we stay accountable to ourselves? How can we have our loved ones stay motivated? And how can we really turn these statistics around for generations to come?
Well, I think walking the walk, right? So practicing what you preach is super important. So taking the supplements that help you, eating the life, or eating the foods that improve your outcomes and things like that. Having a strong support system, so family and friends, surrounding yourself with friends that have like-minded ideas and desires and goals is huge. Um, Group classes, I know TLS, is awesome. And so, just educating yourself to the best of your ability through whether it's group classes or nutrition counseling, different things like that. Yeah, just having those accountability partners to keep you on track, and just living the life and walking the walk.
So I love when we can do things like this with these platforms, and have speakers like you, Andrea, that are so knowledgeable, like leading the way from the front line. And then we can interact with this common, you know, community that we love. And sure, it's like around a brand, but I do think we really attract like-minded people. And so, I do hope that, like, people give some love and tag a
Mhm.
friend, and come here together and come back and tell me what your favorite whole grain is, and
Mhm.
your thing that you're going to tackle this month in February. Like, I know, like I said, I'm committed. Like, sleep, I can't necessarily control, but I can control my shopping list. I'm being committed to that in February. I'm
Mhm.
committed to movement because it's been real cold where I am. And so
Mhm.
I'm not able to get outside. So I've got to, like,
Yes.
make it happen in my own home. And so I want to know from everyone else, like, what you're putting together, because I do think that if we're going to make a difference in heart disease, if we're going to make things easier, and Andrea, I want you to stay employed, but I want it to be in such a different way, right? I don't want you
Mhm.
to
Yeah.
see the same things 10 years from now. And I don't,
Right.
that's so sad, to think of. And I hope, at
Mhm.
least in our own communities and our own families and around our own dinner tables, like, we can make a change. So, any last
Exactly.
words that you want to just leave the audience with?
Um, no, I just hope that someone takes a piece of what we talked about today and just starts to implement a healthier lifestyle. I mean, it just starts with one change, and it's a choice. And so I just hope that we can reach out to someone.
Andrea Oswald, thank you so much for coming to us
Thanks,
for
Sarah.
our National Heart Health Month. So, again,
Happy to do
some
that.
love.
Give us some love.
And thank you again.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.